Please order a copy of the video Wake Up America at the handhelp.com website and get the warning out while we still have time. This is the Light of Truth radio broadcast with Michael Boldea.
All right, welcome to the program and thank you for joining us. This is the Light of Truth radio broadcast. I am your host, Michael Boldea, and yes, as of today, the 16th of August, I believe, we are live. So made it into the office just in time. Still have family visiting. The house is still uproariously riotous, if you will. And so it's best to come somewhere where it's quiet. I've come to really enjoy the quiet. It's a very icky, muggy, rainy sort of day here in Wisconsin. And I wish that the things that will fill up our hour could be upbeat and full of mirth and frivolity, but such are the times and days we're living in where mirth and frivolity are in short supply. The first thing I need to sort of talk about is an email that I received from our brother Douglas. If you're listening, know that Sister Jeanette is in our prayers, but I want to ask all of you listening to pray for Sister Jeanette as well. This is the email that I received, and I know that Brother Douglas would take no issue in me sharing the contents thereof. He says, "Dear Brother Michael Boldea, please pray for Sister Jeanette. She has been having severe pain in her stomach and back. I took her to the emergency room and a CT scan showed a mass near her left kidney and fluid on the right side. We have an appointment Monday with her oncologist, and we are hoping the cancer has not returned. God bless you and the family, Brother Douglas." So if you don't know Sister Jeanette's testimony, God healed her of cancer before. She was very ill a few years back, and she came to a meeting that we held in Texas, and she was prayed over, and God in His grace and mercy saw fit to heal her. And she's been coming to those meetings with Brother Douglas ever since, and it's been great seeing them. And if she is being tested again, keep her in your prayers. Pray that her faith endures, because life is a battle, and it's never going to be all roses and candy canes and cotton candy, except for Joel Osteen. That's he's the one exception apparently, because for him every day's a Friday. Your best life now is just $19.99 away, because you need to buy the book first in order to understand just how easy it is to attain your best life now, even if you have a average to below average IQ and don't know anything concerning eschatology or biblical doctrine. But you do have a way of making lonely women feel at ease and women beset with cats grow endeared to your voice, telling them that they are beautiful, and it's not their fault that cats have taken over their life or whatnot. Anyway, so what's on the plate for tonight? I wish I didn't have to get into this. I really do. But there is a gigantic scandal brewing in the Catholic Church. And we're going to get into that because it's not something as easily dismissible as financial impropriety or other things. It's heinous, it's perverse, it's evil, and the fact that the church has been covering this up for what 50 years is just astounding to me. And I'm not going to talk about this to smear the Catholic Church. Although many Catholics that I know, whom I've been preaching Christ to, let's say, in a roundabout way, are more than eager to point out the warts upon the Protestant church, if you will. So anytime a Jimmy Swaggart or a Jimmy Baker bubbles to the surface like noxious gases in an old lagoon, they're quick to point out the fact that Jimmy Baker had $1 million doghouse, or that Jimmy Swaggart cried on national television only to repeat his sin. This what has been going on in the Catholic Church in here, and it's here in the U.S. It's not even like it's not even in Italy. It's not removed. This is about Pennsylvania dioceses. It's 6 Pennsylvania dioceses, which, if all told, about 1,000 children were sexually abused and molested within these 6 archdioceses, and the Catholic Church covered it up, kept it hush, and refused to expose the heinous actions for what they were. These people shouldn't be allowed to simply resign or walk away. These people should go to prison. These people should be chemically castrated. Because apparently the big news is that there is pressure on the Washington Cardinal to step down. Step down? 1,000 boys and girls, all told. We're going to get into this. I'm going to have to go home and scrub myself in boiling water after I go through this. Because you need to understand that evil is real. We keep getting sheltered from the idea that, evil is some mythical idea. There really is no good and evil. Yes, there is. There is good and there is evil, and this is as evil as it gets. And once we get into this story, you'll realize that this goes a long way to sort of making the conspiracy theorists not seems like such whack jobs, talking about Pizzagate and whatnot, because this is some gnarly stuff. But before we get into that, because I still don't have the stomach for it yet. I'm sorry. I need to talk about something else first. Anything before I get into this, because it's just it emptied me. It made me feel dirty, even though I was just reading a couple articles. So the first thing that I guess we're going to talk about, and I know this is a horrible transition and a horrible non sequitur, but if you understood the depravity of what's going on in the Pennsylvania Archdiocese, you'd feel the same way. Trust me. By the end of this, you'll wish you'd turned it off at the half-hour mark, because this is happening. It's not something that is just an innuendo. It's not an accusation. This thing has gone to court. I mean, there have been just mammoth amounts of confessions and mammoth amounts of depositions, and it's scary what they've been able to hide and for how many years. But we talked about this pastor who was arrested in Turkey, and how both the president and the vice president said that they would do everything they could to basically ensure his release. Now, I realize that most politicians, how do you put it? Say what you want to hear, then do nothing about it. There's a follow-up article that really does highlight the fact that in this world of ours, there are talkers and there are doers. And for better or worse, there are a lot of doers in this administration. And right now, Turkey, not the delicious poultry, but the Muslim nation that is currently keeping this pastor imprisoned, is feeling the heat due to the sanctions that have been placed upon it. So it wasn't just words. It wasn't, all right, we're going to get some TV time. We're going to talk about persecuted Christians. We're going to highlight this pastor and then just, hope the story goes away and do nothing about it. There have been great pressures placed upon Turkey and its government, and so much so, presidency communications director Fahrettin Altun. So there's a name that you can whisper gently in the night. Fahrettin Altun on Thursday called U.S. sanctions on the nation for its continued arrest of American pastor Andrew Brunson an economic coup attempt against the government of President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. So they're feeling the pinch, as it were. The Turkish currency has basically nosedived, and the people of Turkey are beginning to see that perhaps Mr. Erdogan, tyrant as he might be, is not the Messiah that he makes himself out to be. So Turkish officials have taken to calling the sanctions which target the leaders of the nation's judiciary attacks in an economic war between Turkey and the United States. Would be like a grasshopper calling an elephant's flatulence war between itself and the elephant. Come on. Turkey doesn't have an economy. I've been to Turkey. Trust me. Por favor, as they say in California. Trust me. Turkey does not have an economy. So there's no such thing as an economic war between Turkey and the United States. The United States has applied pressure and has set about sanctions against the nation's judiciary. And Turkey, boisterous and vociferous as it might be, just realized that they have no recourse. What are they going to do? Honestly now. What's Turkey going to do? Stop sending us dates? Oh my. Turkey is embargoing the U.S. and we shall not receive any Turkish dates. My day just went from bad to worse. What shall I ever do without Turkish dates? Other than Turkish dates, what is there? Goat cheese and smelly desert peoples? Like I said, I've been to Turkey. If it was a beautiful place, if it was a lovely place, if it was a place that exported goodwill, if it was a place that exported delicious cotton candy or something that we could not live without, then I would tell you. Its capital is a dust heap full of angry people, doubly so if you go during Ramadan, which I did, not so smart. So you've got people sitting around waiting for sunset with their meals covered in plastic, salivating, looking at anybody without the pigment of sand, and I just imagining how they would murder you. That's what I felt. And like I said, I was there during Ramadan week. And let's just say I'm not white. I tend to blend in very well, especially if I grow out my beard and I get a little sun. I could pass for Turkish and about 36 other nationalities. And still, they knew that I was not of them. And man, the stares you'd get. Just poking knives into you. So yes, I think that this economic war between Turkey and the U.S., horrid as it might be, I think we'll survive it. Israel sends dates too. You can have Israeli dates. They're as moist and delicious as Turkish dates. And you're not supporting a tyrant when you buy Jewish dates. Anyway, just FYI, if now you're salivating over dates, Erdogan previously suffered a military coup attempt against his government in July of 2016, which he blames on Pennsylvania-based Islamic cleric Fethullah Gulen. Gulen has denied any involvement in the coup, and American officials have repeatedly stated that Turkish law enforcement has not provided sufficient evidence against Gulen to trigger extradition. So he has to blame somebody. You can't look. This is the way of tyrants. I grew up in a tyranny, in a communist tyranny, and we had a dictator for a very long time. So I know of what I speak, dear children. A tyrant, a dictator, a strong man, if you will, can never admit that the people rose up against him. Understand this. This is very important. It doesn't matter what country, it doesn't matter who the tyrant is, they always have to find a third party to blame. And that third party cannot be of the people, from the people, because they brand themselves as men of the people. And so it would be ludicrous on its face for men of the people to be shouted down by the people themselves and to be revolted against by the people themselves. So when they started rising up against Ceausescu, he blamed American CIA agents. That was his thing. Apparently now, Senor Erdogan is blaming an Islamic cleric that lives in Pennsylvania. Again, third parties, very important. They're always going to blame somebody else because they cannot say, hey, the people don't want me in power anymore. That would weaken their own position. And so they go before the people and say, look, the tyrants are attempting to divide us. The tyrants are attempting to take over our beloved land and keep me from keeping my promise to you of giving 2 camels to every family and 16 goats on wedding nights. So that's their modus operandi. That's the way they work. And so it's no surprise that Erdogan is attempting to blame a third party that, oddly enough and coincidentally, is not in Turkey at the moment. So, but they do want this individual's extradition, and I doubt we will ever do it. It looks as though it's never going to happen. But if the U.S. extradites this Fethullah Gulen, you're going to see a public execution within 48 hours, because there's nothing that seals a tyrant's power more than publicly doing away with his enemies, whether the enemies are real or just imagined. Now, the story continues, and it says Brunson was arrested in late 2016 on charges of working as a spy for Gulen and the Marxist Kurdistan Workers' Party. This is a pastor. He's been a pastor for a long time. He's been a missionary for a long time. I doubt that he would be hand in hand with an Islamic cleric trying to overthrow Erdogan or anyone else. And of course, Brunson has denied charges and Washington has stood by him, demanding his release. Altum appeared to be attempting to calm the Turkish people following a decline in the value of the Turkish lira, exacerbated by U.S. sanctions. In a tweet Thursday, he wrote, "With the acumen of our nation and the leadership of our president, we are fending off this economic coup attempt. This dear nation will remember both those who stand and with those who stand against us in this process." So basically, this is what one might call a veiled threat to anyone that would think of using this particular time to attempt another coup or revolution. That is what he meant when he said, this dear nation will remember those who stand with and against in this process. So they're worried. If this is what they put out, they're concerned. Because if it gets bad enough, the people will go in the streets. Throw in a Ramadan week and they're hungry too. And you can have yourself a nice little revolution in Turkey. And then Senor Erdogan will not live to see his war between the crescent and the cross. Now, the Hurriyet newspaper notes that Industry and Technology Minister Mustafa Varank issued a similar statement referring to financial attacks, without specifying the actions to which he was referring. The United States Treasury Department sanctioned Turkish Minister of Justice Abdülhamit Gül and Minister of Interior Süleyman Soylu on August 1st for their roles in Brunson's detention. The sanctions freeze any existing assets under their names in the United States and prevent U.S. citizens from generally doing business with them. Gül and Soylu both responded to the sanctions by dismissing them and claiming they have no economic ties to the United States. Why we do not have economic ties to Great Satan? Why would we have economic ties to Great Satan? I guarantee you, these two had economic ties to Great Satan, the United States. Because I'm assuming that the Treasury Department did enough research to know where to apply pressure. And I think that more pressure is forthcoming. So I don't know what these gentlemen own in the Great Satan, but I guarantee you it's substantial and it's likely purchased with ill-gotten monies from government and whatnot. So it should be interesting to see how this plays out. Erdogan responded with tariffs. Oh my beating heart. So there you go. We're rice, tobacco products, vehicles, alcohol, coal, and cosmetics. Probably of all of these, the cosmetics industry is what's going to suffer most, because there's a reason all the women in Turkey wear hijabs. I'm just going to say it because it's the truth. I'm sorry. Turkish women, by and large, I'm not generalizing except for to say by and large, are not known to be handsome women. And so the cosmetics industry will suffer, but I think they'll make do too. Alcohol, apparently it's against the law for the Turkish people to drink the alcohol. Okay? It's against the law for the Turkish people to drink alcohol, so I don't think that's going to hurt Jim Beam a lot. Let's put it that way. So no dates for us, and tariffs on tobacco products, alcohol, vehicles, coal, and cosmetics. So there you go. America is about to go bankrupt because Turkey, of all nations, responded with tariffs. Erdogan has also threatened a full boycott of American electronics, particularly the iPhone. Apple deserves it. Sorry. If any of these big tech giants, and Apple is one of them, start playing God, as it were, and start determining what is worthy of your perusal and what is not, then I have no pity or mercy. Let the world itself boycott Apple. Because what started with Alex Jones, remember we talked about it last week, has now spread and is continuing to spread. And so you have 20-somethings with more metal in their faces than war veterans have in their artificial hips, deciding what is news worthy of consumption for you lowly people. And oddly enough, surprisingly so, the news that they deem worthy of consumption by the masses doesn't tend to, tilt conservative. It doesn't tend to tilt Christian. So between an article or an essay discussing how the transgender community has the highest suicide rate of any community, and another article praising brave parents for giving hormones to their 5-year-olds because one time Sally said she felt like Bobby, they will say that you must, all due sincerity and honesty, intellectual and, well, no, because they're not reporters. So just intellectual. You need to see that article about proud parents and brave parents giving Sally hormone blockers so that she can become Bobby at 5. So what you are able to consume as far as news, as far as articles, is being triaged by godless heathens. And now it has become almost a race between the big uns. Apple, Google, Facebook, and Twitter. I don't know why Twitter's included, because anybody who still tweets needs Jesus. But they're all trying to stifle free speech because the midterms elections are coming, and somebody whispered to the little birdies, hey, we're losing, and we're losing big. You need to shut these people up. Because even the stupid people, given enough information, will see that we're not worth voting for. So that's basically what happened. And now you have every platform censoring anything that is deemed unacceptable by the snowflake community, which means anything conservative, Christian, or not morally debased. So, yes, Turkey is going to boycott fully the iPhone. And I, for one, say, Mr. Erdogan, please do. The Trump administration responded to the tariffs Wednesday by stating it would consider ending existing sanctions on Turkey only once Brunson is released. Brunson is currently being held on house arrest, moved there last month after a significant decline in his health in prison. While the Turkish lira suffered a value drop following the imposition of sanctions, it has somehow rebounded after Qatar announced it would invest $15 billion into Turkey's economy to help offset the damage caused. So Qatar is trying to prop up the Erdogan government. This is how you need to read this. And they're doing it at the tune of $15 billion. Yes, uses the dollar of the great Satan as a benchmark. So they will be investing $15 billion to prop up the flailing government of Senor Erdogan. And I think that we should keep sanctioning Turkey so that Qatar and other nations keep trying to prop them up, thereby going broke themselves, because the less money that these zealots have, the safer your family will be come Thanksgiving. Or any other celebration in the U.S., to be honest with you. Now, the U.S. State Department has responded to accusations of economic war by noting that Turkey's economy was suffering long before the Brunson sanctions. Speaking at a regular press briefing Wednesday, State Department spokeswoman Heather Nauert refused to accept blame on the United States for any economic hardship that Turkey may currently be suffering. I don't care. Let them blame you. Who cares? It's Turkey. Let the man go. Let the man come home. The U.S. made it very clear. Let Pastor Brunson go. We will lift the sanctions. But if we're going to have a war of stubbornness between Turkey and the U.S., between Erdogan and Donald Trump, I'm thinking we're going to win this one. Just saying. So yes, it's past 6:30. The dreaded moment has come where I'm going to get into this, and I really don't want to get into it. I'd rather talk about Donald Trump revoking John Brennan's security clearance, because that's just funny. But this is a little more serious. I'm going to start with an article by the AP, which is the Associated Press, by those of you who need the full name of something. And it lays out, I guess, the foundation of what's going on. And then I'm going to go into an article written by an actual Catholic regarding this, just so you understand that the average Catholics aren't taking lightly to this either. This is evil, and they know it, they see it, they feel it. It doesn't matter how much you love your church. When something this egregious takes place, when something this evil takes place, it's time to reconsider calling it your church, I think. So the article begins with Cardinal Donald Wuerl. The Roman Catholic Archbishop of Washington is facing a storm of criticism and calls for his resignation after becoming entangled in two major sexual abuse scandals roiling the church that he has served with distinction since 1966. Now, I beg to differ about the distinction part. If he knew everything that was going on since 1966. Sorry, not gonna buy the distinction part. And like I said in the beginning, resignation? Really? Prison. Not the kind of prison where IRS scammer guys go. Not a white collar prison. No, I'm talking about prison. So they can feel what they've been doing all these years to innocent children firsthand. If you get the drift, even though I wasn't being very subtle. So, a scathing grand jury report this week on rampant abuse in 6, count them, 6 Pennsylvania dioceses accused Wuerl of helping to protect some child molesting priests while he was Bishop of Pittsburgh from 1988 to 2006. Now, in case we need to extrapolate the situation and understand why this is so vile, could have stopped it. He could have said something. He could have exposed it. In 1988, he did nothing. Through 2006, all of these children that were molested sexually from 1988 to 2006, which is 18 years, their destroyed and ruined lives placed directly at Donald Wuerl's feet, Cardinal Roman Catholic. Resignation? Do you have any idea what children who've been molested by people in authority over them go through? Their lives are never normal. They can't have normal relationships. They are utterly destroyed from youth. They don't know what it is to enjoy life as a normal child would. He helped protect child molesting priests from 1988 to 2006. At the same time, Wuerl is facing widespread skepticism over his recent insistence that he knew nothing about years of alleged sexual misconduct by former Cardinal Theodore Makarek, his predecessor in the nation's capital. The Washington Archdiocese, home to more than 630,000 Catholics, is considered an important power center for the church in the U.S., and Wuerl has been ranked by commentators as one of the most influential of the 10 active American cardinals. The two scandals represent a stunning turn for the 77-year-old leader who over the decades earned the respect of fellow bishops across the U.S., blah, 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 and prided himself in taking tough steps to combat clergy sex abuse during his 18 years in Pittsburgh. Really? Tough steps. What were they? Sending a priest who molests children to another archdiocese so he can start all over again? Those are the harsh steps? So this is what's been happening. Some conservative Catholics are calling for his resignation or ouster, and a petition is circulating to remove his name from a parochial high school in suburban Pittsburgh. Wuerl has said he has no plans to resign. He apologized this week for the damage inflicted on the victims, but also defended his actions in Pennsylvania. No, there is no defense. No. We're talking about children being sexually molested. Over 1,000 children. The diocese works to meet or exceed the requirements of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops and the reporting requirements of Pennsylvania law. So here we are getting wordy about law and requirements. That's like a dirty, nasty restaurant saying, well, you know, we meet the minimal requirements, but you've got cockroaches in your salad. Minimal requirements. You sheltered and protected pedophiles. People who molested children. But it's okay. Sleep well at night. You met the minimum requirements. In one case, here, I'm going to go back a little bit because you need context. So, yes, this is his justification. This is his excuse. We showed pastoral concern by reaching out to victims and their families while reporting allegations to the authorities so they could investigate crimes. Thank you for your pastoral concern. The Vatican on Thursday issued its first statement on the grand jury report expressing shame and sorrow. Do tell. They waited till Thursday, while also suggesting that reforms undertaken by U.S. Catholic leaders had sharply reduced the prevalence of clergy sex abuse. 2002. We're talking about reductions in child molestations. We're not talking about just the complete annihilation thereof. There's not even to be mentioned. This is how diseased the Catholic Church has become. That we're talking about reduction of molestation. This is not about reducing your triglycerides or your cholesterol. I reduced it 13% over the last 15 years. We're talking about child molestation, pedophilia. Children who are never going to be normal ever again, whose innocence has been taken from them, robbed from them. And we're talking about reductions? Are you serious? Pretty soon we're going to go into the what the definition of is. Shame on the Catholic Church. Catholic bishops announced an investigation into McCarrick's scandal and said it would invite the Vatican to participate. Worrell has not been charged in any wrongdoing, of course not, except keeping silent from 1988 to 2006. Nothing to see here. I'm sorry. I'm not quitting. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not resigning. Seriously, you need to be in prison. You knew this was going on under your nose, and you covered it up. You need to be in prison. And every single pervert that you covered for needs to be in prison. Worrell, acting on doctors' recommendations, enabled priest William O'Malley to return to active ministry in 1998, despite allegations of abuse lodged against him in the past and his own admission that he was sexually interested in adolescents. Why was he still a priest? His own admission that he was sexually interested in adolescents. Years later, according to the report, 6 more people alleged that they had been sexually assaulted by O'Malley, in some cases after he had been reinstated. Seriously, this is what is happening in the Catholic Church. Imagine what's happening in Hollywood if this is what is happening in the Catholic Church. Cardinal Worrell does not contest the facts. He should resign, tweeted Matthew Schmitz, senior editor of the conservative Catholic magazine First Things. Many of Schmitz's online followers expressed agreement. In Worrell's defense, the Archdiocese has released documents that include a detailed account of a case admirers cite as evidence of Worrell's strong stand against sex abuse. The case surfaced in 1988 when a 19-year-old former seminarian, Tim Bendig, filed a lawsuit accusing a priest, Anthony Cipolla, of molesting him. Worrell initially questioned Bendig's version of events, but later accepted his account and moved to oust Cipolla from the priesthood. In 1993, lest you think the Vatican is innocent of this, in 1993, the Vatican's highest court ordered Worrell to restore Cipolla to ministry. But Worrell resisted, and after 2 years of legal procedures, prevailed in preventing Cipolla's return. So, this is what has been going on in the Pennsylvania diocese. Now, I wanted to get to this article because this article was written by a Catholic. And I know that I may sound angry right now, and I am, but I could just imagine
when darkness seems to hide his face. I rest on his unchanging grace. When I approach his glorious throne, I know that I'm his very own. I know that I'm his very own. The flesh may fail and fears arise. He sees my weakness, hears my cries. His blood will every sin atone and make me as his very own. And make me as his very own.
I'm hearing music. All right. Apparently my call dropped. I was in here frothing at the mouth and my call dropped. Gino came in. Hey, Mike, are you getting back on? Was I off? So I don't know how long I was off. This is disturbing. It's the devil. See, I could blame the devil too. It's the devil. He turned off my Skype. No, I think it's because we're thunderstorming and it's raining out and it's just nature. But I was halfway through another article that was written by a devout Catholic, apparently, who says the Vatican had no comment when asked about hundreds of Pennsylvania priests sexually abusing 1,000 children. I'm gonna I don't know if you caught this part of it, but I'm gonna keep saying the word 1,000 children, so that we can contextualize how evil this is, how horrid, how unacceptable. 1,000 children. We have 100 children in our orphanage, so it's basically 10 times, 10 orphanages. If any of you have visited our orphanage, you know how much 100 children is. Times that by 10. 1,000 children sexually abused by hundreds of priests in Pennsylvania. And this is Pennsylvania alone. Can you wrap your mind around that? And what this Catholic man is writing is, where is Pope Francis in all this? Because up until today, where the only statement they released was this is shameful, there had been no comment from the Vatican. There had been no comment from Pope Francis. And this man writes, and he says, where is the moral leader of the Catholic Church? Where is the compassionate, accessible wheelchair Pope, the energizer bunny Pope, the cynicism-busting Pope who has always been so eager to comment on every hot-button issue, from global warming to immigration to homosexuality? Indeed, where is he? Apparently, 1,000 children being molested, less important than global warming. I know where Francis is not, the man writes. He is not where he should be, in Pennsylvania, overseeing a revolutionary and historic house cleaning of a satanic cancer that infects his church. A 70-year-old cancer of priests and bishops and cardinals who are guilty of either engaging in an organized cabal to rape little boys and girls or in covering up those unspeakable crimes. Worse still, not only is Francis not in Pennsylvania personally disinfecting his church, all we're hearing from the Vatican, the same Vatican that knew well in advance this utterly damning grand jury report was coming out, is no comment. There you go. What we have here is a painful or painfully detailed report on the record testimony and the church's own secret archives. I'm going to repeat that because I know that some of you don't believe it. It's not processing. You heard it, it didn't process. Detailed reports using not only on the record testimony, but the church's own secret archives to lay out a painfully detailed case against hundreds of priests who abused and raped some 1,000 children over 70 years. A highly organized pedophile ring allowed to operate for 7 decades. So the next time the moral authority known as Il Papa comes on the television and browbeats the world regarding global warming, color me skeptical. Allow me to just say pish-tosh to your concern regarding global warming. Because for 70 years, pedophile ring within your own church has raped over 1,000 children. So, at best, dear sir, your moral authority is on shaky ground. Moreover, the cover-up, the enabling of these child rapists goes all the way to the Vatican itself. What the Vatican is dealing with here goes beyond even the original child abuse scandal that threatened to swamp the church some 15 years ago. While the first scandal was its own kind of horror show, we were assured this was behind us. The truth had been fully revealed, the wrongdoers punished, the victims made as whole as possible, the page turned. Now we're learning this is not even close to the truth. That in just one of our 50 states, the cover-up and lies marched on to protect an unspeakable evil. And where is Francis, the man writes? Why isn't he in Pennsylvania personally thanking this grand jury, personally thanking Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro, and calling on the attorney generals in all 50 states to launch similar investigations with the Pope's personal assurance they will have the full cooperation of the church? To know what should chill every Catholic to the marrow? If this is happening here in America, a country with a legitimate criminal justice system and free press, what horrors are being unleashed in third world countries and in corrupt countries? 1,000 children, hundreds of priests, 70 years of destroying lives. Yeah, I'm thinking your moral high ground's a little shaky. So yeah, I know. It had to be done. It had to be said. It had to be talked about because this is what is happening. So it seems our time is up. I'm going to go take a very, very hot shower and scrub myself clean. And Lord willing, we'll see each other next week. Thank you for joining us. I wish that it could be on better terms, on something more joyous, but it was what it was. So we'll see you next week. May God bless you. Thank you for joining us. And Gino, it's all yours.
I'll tell you what, Mike, it is such a sad deal to literally see such an evil cover-up and sweeping under the rug. How many kids and families will be hurt for many, many years? So I just urge everyone, pray hard for the victims and intercede for their one day having to maybe share with their kids trauma of going through something that terrible, and furthermore perpetrated by people in ministry. That's just, everything flies against the face of why you think you could minister and assault a kid. It's beyond thinking. And for so many years to hold on to the, even the any elements of priests that were involved in any way, to not literally nail that right away when even the beginning hints of assault or abuse were taking place, just saddens me. I'm sure saddens Mike immensely, and especially with a brother with 2 daughters. And God's going to expose, because he said what's done in secret will be shouted on the rooftops, and that is one blessing, to know that it won't go without being exposed from God. And I just urge you to keep those victims in prayer. Thank you so much for listening to this broadcast. And again, Hand to Help Ministry is the ministry behind this broadcast, Light of Truth. Please visit our website at handofhelp.com. Have a good night in Christ. Thank you for listening to today's broadcast, The Light of Truth, with Michael Boldea. If you would like to order a copy of today's broadcast, please visit our website at handofhelp.com. If you have questions about our ministry, you can email us at handofhelpoffice@aol.com, or simply call us at 920-206-9910. God bless you.